entrepreneurship is a bit of mental illness. You have to be somebody that is fixated on achieving a goal, because you'll get distracted, you'll get denied, you'll get delayed. So you have to have that purpose, you know.
Singular focus.
Yeah, man. I mean, it will work. It won't work if you're not a focused person, if you're not a disciplined person. You know, a lot of people think that entrepreneurship is, you know, you get up and you just start, you know, next day you reach a finish line. No, you're going bob and weave, and, you know, you're going to get depressed. So mental health, I don't know how to be mentally strong. You just have to know that tomorrow has to be better than today. And I mean, if you make up your mind, then maybe entrepreneurship is for you.
Doug Gore, they call him in Hollywood.
Mario Brown, country manager, Dollar Financial Services.
Kingsley Scott, Scott's Auto and Be My Lifestyle Auto Care. Cool. So today we're talking about entrepreneurship, guys. Everything that goes along with it, both the mental health pressures of it, you know, mental health is a big thing on this show. And we're better to talk about it in a barbershop where men feel most at ease. Both of you have varying lives, lifestyle choices, business ethics, businesses in general. And I want to get into what your journey is as one part of it, and then on a second side of it, about you personally. What are some mental health struggles that you've had to overcome, not only in business but in life? Tell me about family, tell me about the things that mean the most to you. So, Doug, we're going to start with you. Firstly, how did you get the name Hollywood? I genuinely want to know that.
It was funny when I first started racing, and I used to always see the Jeffrey Pantons, the Reina Kings, the Christopher Issers of the world. And you'd go to motor racing events, and every time you'd see these guys come on the camera, and you had all these youngsters like myself, and we're standing up there now. I said, boy, I wonder if I'm going to get on TV, I wonder if I'm going to get an interview. And you would stand up there, and then when I'm finished with the big guns, you kind of walk up and say, hey, my name is Doug Gore. So, you know, you never say, oh, yeah, all right, thank you. and then they walk on with the camera. So I'm like, why? And never going to get on TV. So one day I'm racing, one of the biggest events that I'm in, and while I'm driving down the road, and I'm in the race, and all of a sudden, out of the peripheral vision of my eye, I see a rim and tire bouncing off into the sunset. And I'm saying, wait, somebody in another race car must have losing a rim and tire. And I'm looking in my rear mirror, looking around, trying to see is who loses rim and tire. Anyway, I was still racing, still driving the hell out of the car, come through the finish line, and all of a sudden the car goes, dunk. And I look and say, right, it is me. So I come out of the car now and I look, and there is the rim and tire down the road. But guess what? I still finish the race. And I see the crowd is going crazy, man. Everybody is clapping. And I say, wow, dog, man, wow. You finish the race on 3 wheels. So I come out and I'm like, boy. So of course, now I'm walking up to the man that had the TV camera. So Vincent Cassidy over at CVM. I said, oh, man, you saw that finish the race on 3 wheels? And I look at him and says, yes, we actually caught it on film. So I said, all right. So I stand up there now, ready for my interview. I went to the casino and I said, hold on, you must think this is Hollywood. So the man said, all right, I'm going to give you an interview. And I said, all right, I'm watching Monday news now, and you're sitting down and you're watching sports news. And then Winston Catsnow comes on and says, and straight out of Hollywood is Doug Gore, driving on 3 wheels. Well, guess what, it's stuck.
Yeah, Doug Hollywood Gore. All right, we love it. All right, so tell me a little bit about your business. Mario, tell me a little bit about your personal journey and your journey in entrepreneurship a little bit as well.
Well, all right, I'll start by saying entrepreneurship is a bit of mental illness.
All right.
You have to be somebody that is fixated on achieving a goal, because you'll get distracted, you'll get denied, you'll get delayed. So you have to have that purpose, you know.
Singular focus.
Yeah, man. I mean, it will work. It won't work if you're not a focused person, if you're not a disciplined person. You know, a lot of people think that entrepreneurship is, you know, you get up and you just start, you know, next day you reach a finish line. No, you're going bob and weave, and, you know, you're going to get depressed. So mental health, I don't know how to be mentally strong. You just have to know that tomorrow has to be better than today.
True.
And I mean, if you make up your mind, then maybe entrepreneurship is fine.
Yeah, man. I will tell everybody that it's not for the weak. You can go into it and do what you love. That is usually the intersect there between, you know, I really love this and I'd love to make money off of this, and that is a beautiful place to be. Some of us are very, very fortunate to do that. But I know that every day is not going to be a good day.
No.
And when you see success is not something that is a one-time thing. It's constant. The rent is due every day.
Every day.
Every day the rent is due.
And they used to cut off our light for non-payment.
See that?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to get tough. It's going to get tough. So you definitely have to be, you just have to.
Mental.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Scott, tell me a little bit about how you started, first of all.
Well, I started the auto parts business, I think in about like 98, 97. I had some electricians working with my grandparents, but they always had to go a little distance to buy parts like wires and fuse. And I said to myself, why you don't set up something that you can, instead of going so far? And I got 4 little boards, and built a box and nail it on a wall inside their shop. Still have the box. And I buy wires, bulbs and fuse, and that's exactly how I started. And then in 2000, when I was about to leave the army, I had a 1976 Corolla car and it crashed. And I took the parts from it and asked my grandmother, I said, give me a space, and she gave me a little spot and said, put the shop there. Nothing was in it. Nothing was in it. I mean, like,
Shop empty.
Empty. Believe me, it was empty. When all the items in the shop were on display. When customer come, I go around the back and I make a little step, and I say, oh, see it here. That's how it started.
Love that. Sometimes you have to do, well, we don't want to fake it till you make it, but you kind of have to protrude that, give that illusion of success. You have to project that. Yeah, man, I'm check around at the back, man. Knowing that there's only one thing on the wall, and and I pray them by it, because
it's so. Hold on, you say you still have the box?
Yeah, man.
Where's the car?
Very important.
The car?
No, the car.
The car crashed.
Yeah, but you didn't.
All I took from the car was the alternator, the starter, and some of the electrical stuff that it roll over, you know. Car roll over when we're going to work, and thought it was the fastest car in the world. Like a 3T, and I used a spring and put on the carburetor, so the gas pedal was high.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, I feel the car was so fast. Car turned over.
Too fast.
Too fast. The car was going anywhere.
It's the fastest thing you ever drive. A very important thing. Was it your first accident?
No. Yes, the thing about it. No one.
The second accident. Same car.
Same car.
Turned over twice.
Jeez.
Sleep.
Maybe a good thing that it finished.
I was driving. 2 of us in the car. And the 2 of us turned over the car. Driving, and the car started to go on the sidewalk, and my brother woke up, and before he just grab his steering, I'm a friend, I'm just him pull and the car. Terrible.
Oh boy. But I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say that their journey started because of something bad that happened. That it was a usual defining moment. Like you said, some people have that you know, I love to do this, maybe I should do this and find a way to make money off of it. But then adversity is what brings that to a lot of people. A lot of people may have lost their job and it forced them to be innovative. A lot of people, you know, crash their car and force them to be innovative. Doug, what started your journey in entrepreneurship?
I was working with FedEx for 7 years, and while I was there, learning the trade that I'm in now, which was importing goods into different countries. It was at that point, while I'm learning it, and I'm saying, every time I came to Jamaica, my uncles, auntie, brother, sister, friend, they would always say to me, Doug, while you're there on the weekends, you can go and buy me a TV, a VCR, a Walkman. Of course, I'm dating myself now. So some people don't even know what a Walkman is.
No, we all know what a Walkman is, but yeah, we're going to make it
But
for the people watching now, if you don't know what a Walkman is, you can change the channel. Go on.
Too young.
So while I'm there buying these things on the weekend, and I'm sending them off to, as I said, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, and I am now making more money on the weekends buying and selling stuff than working with FedEx. So I'm saying to myself, this is interesting. Then one of the people that I was actually buying for was a manager at FedEx, and they pulled me inside the office and I says, hey, Doug, you can't do that. I say, I actually have a contract with FedEx. It has to be either or. I says, you can't do this. And I said, but this is completely different. I mean, I'm buying goods and selling goods. He says, yes, but you're still shipping goods and you're not shipping with us.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh. So I said, boy, you have to stop. Anyway, I decided to stop, but in a very smart way. Again, we talk about entrepreneurship and the reason for always striving ahead. I said, all right, don't go won't sell it. So I got a fellow named Mark, a friend of mine, and I said, Mark, you're going to be now the head of my business. I'm still going to do it, but you're going to be who they're going to write checks to, who they're going to pay, that sort of thing. So at this point now we start and we're running and still doing our thing. And then one day now the manager pulls me inside and says, Doug, I told you to stop. And I says, what do you mean you told me to stop? I did stop. He says, no, Doug. I asked Mark who to write the check to, and he said, must write to Doug Gore. So I said, I can't be writing that check to Doug Gore, and you're so-called saying you're done. So I said, listen man, that's 2 marks on your file. 3rd one, you're done. Anyway, I got to my mother and father, and I'm sitting down there one day having dinner with them, and I'm saying, boy, I don't know what to do. And my mother says, and she worked at FedEx at the time, and my mother says, do you think start your business? My father now looks at me and says, yes, but you have the security of that paycheck coming in every week. And you know, if you stay with FedEx for X amount of years, you can retire and you live yourself, you know, you're comfortable. And I said, but I kind of want to be more than comfortable. I kind of want to be able to go and race car and do other things. And I knew that the salary that I was making off of FedEx could not afford me to do so. So I said, you know something, I'm going to make it a try. Here's what I went and did also. I went to FedEx and I says, I am going to give this a try, but I'm going to ask you, can I take 1 year leave? If it doesn't work out for me, can I at this point now come back? And they said, Doug, you're a fantastic employee. I said, we will gladly take you back. I said, all right, well, guess what? Never went back, never looked back.
Never went back. And the shipping business now has been around for how long?
So it's funny because I would probably say 27 years, 28 years. I'll tell you another thing is that, and especially over COVID, I'm sure you guys know and understand this, the amount of people that got into the shipping business recently is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man.
And every mom and papa and young fellow out there have gone into the shipping business. And I will definitely tell you that I was the first one in Jamaica that actually started what we all know today as the bringing in goods, clearing them out of the wharf, getting them to people. I was the first, and I will tell you a little more story. I sat there on an airplane while I was with FedEx, and I'm sitting beside a guy that did the exact same thing. Now at FedEx, what I used to do is I used to fly on a plane to every different country, and I used to clear FedEx's goods. This is before they actually had their own planes. So you actually had to be on a plane, and you would pack all the FedEx bags underneath in the cargo area. You'd arrive at the airport, you'd clear the stuff, I would literally walk around through the airport and go back and fly back to Miami with FedEx's goods from Jamaica, Barbados, Bermuda, wherever, and fly back to Miami and do the same thing and clear goods through Miami airport. So while I'm doing all of this, I'm learning from this, right? So as I said, I started the business, and you just said to yourself, all right, let me grow on it and let me make this now the best thing ever. But sitting beside this guy, working with DHL, and he said to me, Doug, I've formed a little business, I said, what's that? He said, it's called Mail Pack. So I said, really? So I said, Mail Pack. I said, what's that? He says, Doug, you ever realize that you're going to have like a Road and Track and a Car and Drive or a Playboy magazine, and you send it down to Jamaica and you're the regular post office, and it take all 3-4 months. People all pull out and you say, hey, you see the brand new Corvette? I say, yeah man, I see that long time, man. And he said, what do you mean you see that long time? Yeah man, I get a magazine long time, man, and read all about it. And 3 months later now, that same magazine appears in your post office box. So we had a big issue. So he took advantage of it and he said, listen man, send it to this address in Miami. And when it comes, I will bring it down. Same thing, he was working with DHL. I'll bring down all your mail, and I'm talking all your mail, and you can come now and collect it from me for a little stipend. Fantastic idea. Look where Mail Pack is today. So he had that idea. I was a little bigger where I was now, as I said, buying the satellite dish and the VCR and so on. So I was doing a very big different thing. The difference between me and that fella there that we're talking about is that Mail Pack became a household name in Jamaica. They're all over the island.
Right.
The difference with me is that I wanted to race car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of my energy and all of my focus was to make enough money to fund my racing career. And it's funny how that differentiated and that parted, His thing was the almighty dollar. For me, I wanted to enjoy life, and I have over 600 trophies at my office to prove it.
So that's the thing. We all have different journeys. Like you and him were in a similar business, and you guys went down, in my opinion, I won't say completely different paths. You did it for different reasons.
Yes.
A lot of people will tie their goals to money or something financial that they want to achieve, and then you will do this in order to facilitate this. Like it's almost as if one hand washes the other.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the feeling that you get from sitting in a race car knowing that even though I worked very hard in my business to achieve this, it was with this goal in mind. Tell me a little bit more about the hobby. Would you call it a hobby, by the way? At this stage, I think it's a little bit of a business for you as well.
I can tell you that I think there were maybe 3 drivers in Jamaica, bar none that I can even think of, that are actually throughout their career paid drivers. Actually, when you think of it, maybe even 2 that are actually paid drivers, and I've been one of them for many times throughout my career. And that, I think, to me, is a very big deal. When you think that at the end of the day, you could actually say at the end of the year, actually make money from racing, which a lot of people can't. So it's one of those things that I kind of pride myself, and also going out there and making the brand Hollywood. I can almost go anywhere in Jamaica, and to me, I'm thinking, well, I'm just another tall white man, but yet I can go into the bush of Jamaica,
and they know you.
I said, "Right in Hollywood,
yeah, you're there.
Well, what's going on?" And
True.
I said to yourself, I'm like recognized, even when I have the beard now, you recognize it. However, I'll tell you a little joke. Asafa Powell took me down to I'd never been to Barbershop before. We get there, and while we're there, people are now coming up and they see Asafa and they're asking him for pictures and autograph, whatever. And they're coming over and asking me. And I do remember walking out, and his wife or one of his friends says, "Boy, Doug take almost more picture with people than you." But it was a joke, right? But again, it's making your name and your brand relevant, and that's one of the things that I've wanted to do over my career, is always keep myself relevant, always be there in the spotlight, to be able now to go to a sponsor and say to them, "Hey, I would like to drive for you." And when they get that piece of paper and they're looking at it, and while they're reading it and go, Oh, Doug Gore. All right. Guess what? They'll continue reading. The problem is that the John Brown of the world, he can give them, and they're going, oh no, who the hell is this guy?
True.
Let's throw it in the trash. So I always wanted to do that. So that's again relevant, which is very
Brand
important.
recognition. I can agree with that. Mario, tell me a little bit about your experience with Dollar. I've been blessed to see Dollar start and get to where it is now. And boy, even though Mir is not here, and I will tell you as well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It is a hell of a journey, and there's far more to go. But tell me a little bit about what your experience in being a part of this journey is like, and taking a company from here to public to where it's going to go.
Man, I'll start like this. How we got started, we are bankers, first and foremost. We there's nothing else to say other than that we're bankers. And starting out in banking as a young person, as Doug said, you have to go in and learn. And that's exactly what we did. We never went and wasted any time. But we noticed, right, that while we're giving out loans, we're doing mortgages, we're doing car loans, we said, no, we can't help you. More than we said yes. We were turning back more people than we were helping. And we're like, hold on.
Right. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, and it's funny because it was people from a particular socio-economic background. We were turning back entrepreneurs that made,
like yourself.
Well,
Yes, it's entrepreneurs that made good money.
we were turning back entrepreneurs that made more money than the people that we were helping, but they didn't fit into the schematics of what the bank wanted. So, light bulb goes off in Kadeen's head and my head. We have to do this. So, we started in Hanover, which, as most people know, is one of the poorest parishes in the island. But there's just something about Jamaicans. I don't think they even know just how resourceful they are. So we started with the people that we couldn't help while we were at the bank. Barbers, hairdressers, taximen, these people that are outside of the traditional banking system. And not to bore you with the details, a lot of lonely nights, a lot of times when JPS asked for the money, but we couldn't, but we're here now. We persevered. We're not, we're not finished yet. It's really. So a lot of persons would have seen that we went public and, they're patting us on the back, but we still don't feel like, because we know that in Jamaica, unfortunately, access to credit is a problem. So we are definitely trying to spread the access to credit as far as we can, and even outside of Jamaica, which we have done. And I say this, Jamaican companies don't even know just how big they are outside of Jamaica, and the ability that they have to go into the Caribbean islands and spread their wings. Our brands are huge, and we take it for granted, the markets that are outside in the Caribbean. But
you mentioned something very important that I want to touch on, which is that we as entrepreneurs, you will hear from somebody, this is great and your business is doing well and I love what you do, and man, I wouldn't go to anybody else to fix my car but you're the best person I've ever done. And they will tell you you're doing well, but then deep down inside you feel like you're not doing enough.
No.
It's almost as if there's, and I'm wondering, and I stay up many nights and wake up many early mornings and wonder, because you know what the vision is that you have.
Yep.
So to them, it's, this is amazing, this is great. You're doing the best you can.
I'll even go a little further just to show you how business is. When we started, there wasn't a microcredit act, which is stipulations from the government to basically guide you as to who you can help, that kind of regulation. It didn't exist when we started, right? So we were able to assist persons where their proof of income wasn't on paper. We were able to look at bank printouts and common sense of hairdresser has a you don't need, she don't need to give you.
She don't need to give P&L and all of them.
Yeah, you don't need anything to know that she makes money. Her chair is always full. But I mean, with the growth of the industry and some players that are less than genuine, I'd say the government decided, in its wisdom, which I think is a great idea, to kind of make the players have a bit more level playing field, streamline the processes so that these rogue companies are not able to take advantage of people. But it's so funny what has happened, which is that now we are asked to provide for the persons because of the money laundering risk proof of income. So on the flip side, we wanted to help persons who we set out with the intention to help people who are outside of the traditional banking system, persons who collect cash and not have a bank printout.
Put on their mattress.
Yeah, put on the mattress or spend the money just as soon as they get it. But now with the passage of the Microcredit Act, which I think is generally a fantastic idea, it still kind of holds us back in terms of who we are able to help, because Jamaica as a kind of country that has industries that are not fully mature, still has persons that are unbanked, persons that don't have a bank account. This is still a big deal.
And we've created a stigma around it also.
Yeah. So I mean, we're governed by the Microcredit Act now, so we basically trying to still do what we do that made us
What you started out to do. You mentioned that the stigma that we create about banking and things that go into it, but it's a double-edged sword. I mean, people say bank are taking money, bank is taking this in fees, we've kind of trying to condition ourselves, and it's getting better now probably generationally, where you realize that if you need to grow your business, it's not like taking a loan is a bad thing, or doing this is a bad thing, because there's good debt and bad debt. We talked about that before. But fact of the matter is that in order to still do what you do and still grow, then I appreciate the thing about your brand is that it's something that everybody can understand. And I've heard people say that before. Say, you're not going to feel like this when you go to probably another type of institution that you don't understand what you're talking about.
Right.
I have some money, you need some money. I take this, do something with this.
Give me back.
That is something that is age-old in Jamaica, partner draw, everything that go along with that, but it's something that is needed. I want to touch on the mental health pressures of going public. A lot of people would say that is some people will have that type of business where they intend to own it for a long time, but taking a business public is a global thing that a lot of people would aim to do. And I can see the stress on your face same time.
Yeah, man. All right. So I don't know if it is a good. It's new to me.
Okay.
But that's also a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're soaking it all in. I mean, it is. I really don't know what to say. It's just fantastic. I was in Ireland. I was in a restaurant in Kingston. After work, getting some dinner.
You don't want to give props where you don't need.
No. Anybody who don't need no sponsorship, right? As getting
Stop the island.
right.
It could be island anything. It could be island anything.
Big up that company.
Yeah.
Great food.
Go on.
And a gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, work at dollar?" I say, "Yeah." Say, "Hey, make sure we make some money off on you know." And I mean, what do you mean? I say, "I buy some on a stock." What's the culture like? Everything alright? You the management team getting along?
They're gonna say no, don't do it.
So no, we just had a little fight a while ago. Actually, we don't ever go into work on Monday. What are you going to say to that when a
You really need to
stranger?
just freak him out and say you did it. With a very concerned look on your face, and at that time, you see the man start walk out.
Man, go on the phone same time, you know something.
And I mean, he was basically saying, "Hey, I made 100,000 off of Fesco, you know. So make sure that you guys at least make that or more." And I'm like, "Oh in the middle of the day.
Yo.
Put you under pressure.
Yo.
At that restaurant.
At that
Yeah,
restaurant.
yeah.
So I mean, it just gives you insight into, so I go from having no boss, imagine,
Right.
to literally every single shareholder in the country, of which we have the most shareholders in the country now, by the way. 12,000 mash. Everybody is your boss. So if you, I can't take anything for granted now.
So what's the pros and cons? You must have big pros and cons.
All right, the pros and cons is now 12,000 people are looking and on your back about things that we said we would do with their money.
Right.
The accountability is far more, definitely. Scott, you've been in business a pretty long time too, and I want to say that, I mean, as a customer of your business, when I owned my first car, what I've always appreciated is you still value that relationship with your customers and your genuine customer service and how you deal with your people. No, actually no, that definitely wasn't my first car. My first car was a little Suzuki Swift, see? And the backlight used to always blow up every 3 weeks on like easy, like clockwork. I could just know I'm going up to my car and the backlight blow. That is just how it used to go. So heard about Scott, went to him, and that is how I actually met Scott personally. Heard about him many times before. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, he managed to scale this business into something even more grander than I would have known it to be originally. What was that transition from just electrical to where you are now? There's a brand that is on your shirt that I don't know if Doug can call its name, but yes, I know you was that guy.
We still do the electrical parts, because what you find happening is that auto electrical parts is a few in the island. Most people do auto parts, but we stick mainly to auto electrical, alternate to start with anything electrical.
Yeah.
That's where we start. But then, the niche came in where BMW came about. Had a BMW, and people keep on asking for parts of the BMW. Started to bring him a little parts, and then I just eventually just go fully BMW.
Boy, I've seen BMWs take off in Jamaica over the last 3-4 years, where it just seems like, Beamers are everywhere. To be honest with you. So I can completely understand why you go down that road. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, he was smart to get into it when he got into it. And a lot of the conversation that me, myself, Mears, and a few other entrepreneurs that I've had on this show have had is that decision to make the move is just as important as actually executing it. Like when you do that, has a lot to do with it. That next step of what you want to do to grow the business, and what is BMW still going to be the most viable thing to do in the next few years? What made you so sure that this was the right move to make?
Well, the growth of BMW right now is noticeable. And what we try to do is try to be true to the customers. And parts and service, that is what is really needed. And we just try to have to be on top of the game with that.
I'm going to switch the narrative a little bit. You're a father, right?
Yes, sir.
How many kids you have?
2.
How old are they?
19 and 4-year-old.
19 and a 4-year-old. That's a nice disparity. All right, tell me about what you tell your kids about starting businesses and how you instill that in them, especially somebody who's 19. I can't even imagine raising a teenager, right? I'm glad my daughter is 6 and now.
Well, my son grew in the business. Grew in the business. Honestly, he can even take over the business. That is good. Believe in the business. Every evening when he leaves school, he's in the business. He knows everything about it. Grew like a Chinaman. And just inside the shop from day one, from
how young?
From 4-year-old, like every evening, he's in there. He knows most of the stuff. He knows everything in the shop. Believe me.
That's good.
My son is the same. It's amazing.
I will tell you that. He's very disciplined. I don't have nothing bad to say. Believe me. I'm confident I can leave him.
So the reason why I'm glad.
So if he's watching, boy, you're in trouble.
Hold on. So,
It might
hold
come
on.
out of school and
I
say,
just
"Dad."
realized something here. So,
Yeah.
you have a son?
Yes.
Son.
Great. So, we're all raising the next generation of men that are going to end up taking over Jamaica, end up taking over the businesses that we're in or something in the sector that we're in.
The woman that wanted
Yeah,
to do
exactly, and I know that, I mean, I have daughters, I can't afford to just say that it's men, but we all raising the next generation. But considering this conversation is happening in a barbershop, I always like to focus on, men's mental health, and the fact that that's not something that's talked about pretty regularly. We tend to have that, we have to kind of keep them things to ourselves. You don't necessarily, I think somebody was talking to me the other day from the Jamaica Mental Health Advocacy Network, and they were saying that there's this almost underlying thing like men don't necessarily need to accept love, or we don't need to have that need to show that we are down or we're depressed or anything to that effect, because we're expected to be strong all the time. And I want to, especially as somebody that is, all of you are in business and you know that a lot is on your shoulders, a lot is, what happens with your business is based on the decisions that you make, and your failures are on the decisions that you make, your successes are on the decisions that you make every day. What do you tell your son about how he handles failure?
how he handles failure.
Yeah, how to handle failure.
So it's one of the things that's where motor racing has done a fantastic job in that regard. And I will tell a lot of people out there that if you can get your child involved in motor racing, it is such a tight clique of fellas around it.
Right.
It is quite phenomenal. I can say that there is no motor racer out there that would not see my son and be doing something wrong. And I'm sure even Scott, if Scott saw Tommy doing something that he thought was not good, he would go up to Tommy, or you'd even come to me and say, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z. And I think that is where the motorsports clique of guys that we have has been fantastic throughout the years. We really are quite a solid group of guys.
Look out for each other.
And it keeps the kids out of foolishness.
Yes.
They're not going
Occupied.
to the parties and they getting drunk and all the other foolishness that comes along with being a teenager. Their focus is very different. As Scott says, his son is into the whole idea of his business. So is mine. I've always told my son that if you want to further your racing career, you have to now understand where that money was coming from.
Yes,
that's true.
And it was a very, very important part.
Yes.
I said, you like to race, you like the enjoyment of racing. Where did that fund? It's not like Daddy had a 3 hour on the back
And pick up the money.
I said, I was not one of the fortunate Kingstonian big white people family that could have money from way back when. And I had to make my own way, right? And he saw that, and that was one of the important things that all of my kids have seen that. And it's very important that even my new one that is coming into the world will also know that. It's a very important part.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mario, what did you tell your son about failure? Or how to handle failure?
I think, as Doug said, I'll definitely piggyback off. It is less about what I say to him, and I think more about how he sees me handling it. I mean, how I come in at the end of the day when it doesn't go my way. If I kick the table or, react badly, or if I stop, say to myself, review what I did wrong and go again, I think it has a better impact than actually speaking to him and lecturing him. Because at the end of the day, I mean, as Doug said, do as I do.
And it's very funny because the children, they trust me. They watch and they learn.
Sponges, they're really taking everything.
And the more that they grow up and see that father figure is around and actually have the love and care and the want for them to grow, oh my gosh, absolutely.
So he is 9. So I mean, at 9, I have to be, very cognizant of what I say, what I do. So I mean, I don't know, fortunately, he's a real sponge. I mean, he is in class, using business words or loans,
banking terminology. Lingo.
And the teacher would tell me, and I'm like, oh, okay. But it's a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, they say he's
Right.
So, I mean, definitely in terms of my son specifically, showing him more than I say, because if I say, you know, it might go in one ear and come out the other. But
you mentioned something very, very important, which was the fact that he's probably, and you're on the phone, probably at home, and he's still overhearing the conversation and listening and probably using some of the words you use and all those kind of things. And that I think is extremely important in the field that you're in, because when you go to school in Jamaica, that's not one of the things that you're taught. Like, and I've said it many times, how to develop business acumen is not what they teach you in school. You kind of have to have that fire inside of you to decide to go down that road. So you are in a very unique position where, yes, you understand financials and financial things, and you would hope that he transitions that, and that's what he talks to his friends about, and that's what he says in class, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a kid over there that probably has, you know, same socioeconomic background as you, but then turns around and says to himself, okay, if this little youth is the same age as me and we have similar interests, maybe I should align myself with him and learn more about that. And I think that's something that our education system needs, because you're building more people that are at the end of the day going to build the country and not just get up and decide to go down everybody else's path.
And I think one of the things that you need to also, and you're doing the right thing right here, is to show people that fathers, you need to be part of your children's
Definitely.
life. It's very, very important.
Definitely.
And you know, you have a lot of guys that all they do is they go out there and then beat up kicking them, and then they don't know them after that, and they cut. And you know, that's a really, really bad thing. And they have to understand that at the end of the day, when you see that child going and doing the wrongs, what are you going to say to him? You have nothing to say. I mean, you have no reason to say it, because guess what? They didn't learn from you.
Good. And it's a motorsport, I can tell you. It's one of the better things that I have known to teach them failures. Because, for example, my son mostly, we do mostly like dexterity and like a drag.
Okay.
And like when they don't do well, they know they have to think about it and they just don't give up.
Right.
That most sports say, you know, you lose a race, you have a next chance. You can talk them to and say, all right, this is what we're wrong.
Come back better.
As Doug said earlier, with the son with the car, you ask him what went wrong, how you think about it, what and how to correct it. And from there, they can tell you that, all right, the car don't feel well, or I did something wrong, and you can correct it. So you show them a lot of things, how to accept failures in life. You know,
And to be able to communicate with you.
Yes.
Good.
That's a very
That is
good.
a very, very
Good. It's a
Very,
good way
very
to communicate. What they can tell you what went wrong.
And you always don't want to just go there and you're bashing him. And,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing wrong, and you're doing this, and you're doing.
You touch on a very important point, because I think communication is something
key.
that is one of those things that has to do with just raising good people. Like I was talking to somebody recently, and there's a lot of focus on good grades, but then there's a focus on raising good people, like good people that are going to be a functional part of society. And that same narrative of, okay, you did this wrong, car crash, car leak, you came last, whatever the case is, how you handle those failures is a very important thing. Because you build sportsmanship and all those kind of things, but then in you talking to him about it and not just being, you're vexed and you're gone one side, him learn how to communicate better. And that is something that I think is always going to be needed. That's a skill that is timeless.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, communicate the problem.
Yeah.
It's not just you sit and you sulk and you're in your own head and you wonder why all of it happened. Talk to somebody about it.
Communication.
And that definitely helps your mental health.
And guess what? Build entrepreneurs. You build them from early.
Yes.
My daughter has her own business.
Good stuff.
My son, as I tell you, he's going to grow up to probably change the mobile freight to greater heights.
Exactly.
And of course, this little one that I'm going to also nature into also being an entrepreneur. Now, whether they want to work for a business, that is fine. Nothing wrong with that, because I can tell you, not everybody is made up that way. No,
True.
100%. And as they're growing older, you will see.
Yeah.
Adam Stone offered my daughter a very big position at AC Marriott. She actually thought about it, and in the end, she decided that she was going to do her own business, and is doing very well with Brina Bites. It's a cooking company and catering. So again, it's what she wanted, and you can only get her to that point.
Good.
And you can only get him to that
As
point.
they say,
And
you can
you
bring
let
the
them
horse to the
decide.
water, but you can't force it to
Drink
drink
it,
it.
yeah.
But if you start in the right way, trust me, to end in the right way.
Definitely.
Good, man. And yeah, you make a good point too, because there's, I mean, especially as people that own businesses or are the heads of businesses, there's this thing in the back of your where you kind of want your children to, you know, be a part of that and grow into it and have that succession planning. Because succession planning is not something that a lot of people think about sometimes. They're like, they're so focused and their head is down. Things happen every day. I mean, God forbid something could happen tomorrow and we're not here anymore.
Yeah.
What is going to happen at that point? And all your work would have been in vain. But
So
then,
we all agreed on the same topic, so we shall all cheers ourselves.
cheers to the great work that we're doing, first of all. But what I will say about that as well is understanding that yes, you can only teach them so much and guide them the right way, and then eventually they will take whatever path it is that they really want to take. You can try and, you know, like you said, bring a horse to the water. You
Can't force it. I can tell you about my son. I have my best friend that has an auto parts shop, dependable. His daughter usually drive, when she was like 10, 11, you drive a Nissan Toyota pickup, standard.
She used to drive.
She usually passing.
No, it's straight Toyota.
It wouldn't be a best friend.
No, straight Toyota.
He said
Yeah, and
he said she used to drive a Nissan pickup standard.
yeah, he usually teach her to drive it, you know.
Nice.
And she's 10, my son is 11. And I said, Money, Terry, I drive, you're not driving. I said, we take taxi. I'm not interested in driving. I know him race, him have his own vehicle, him just talk him through and him eventually grow in it. So somebody think you don't force them.
Yeah.
If you can communicate with them and show them the stuff.
Yeah, that is true.
There was a point where my son Tommy, as I say, he has been racing cars since he was 5 years old. And while I'm growing up and you're watching him and he says, all right, is it because daddy races cars? You know, you're kind of thinking to your head. But then you'd go home now and you'd watch him now interact and talk about his racing throughout the day. Then there was just a tipping point where he was now actually clay shooting for school. So he's now getting into that and he's now doing the shooting, and I'm saying to myself, is it going to be where he's a skeet shooter or he's a race car driver? And I said to him driving back from the racetrack, and he didn't have a good day that day. And I said to him, Tom, what you want to do? You want to race cars or you want to go shoot? And he looked at me and he says, Dad, I'll tell you one of the reasons why I might be inclined to do the racing. And I said, what's that? I said, with the shooting or the racing, I'm out there with the gun. It's me, the gun, and the target. If I shoot the target and I crush the target, if I don't crush the target, it's me. With the race car, there's so much other things that can go. The car not working, the crew not setting up the car right. And it was at that point I said to myself, well, guess what I did? I changed the crew. Because I listened to my son and I was able to understand the plight and the issue that he was having. And again, if I was able to give him the best opportunities of both worlds, and then for him now to decide what he wanted to do
On his own.
So I changed the crew, got him into a better crew, and now racing has stuck. I mean, you know, the only time you pick up a gun is when you go bird bush. So it was one of those things that I had to listen to him and understand what he was talking about, and then make the changes accordingly.
I found out that as a big part of being a parent, that just as much as we have all the knowledge and the experience, they have a lot to teach us too.
Yeah.
There is so much that I've learned from being a dad, from my daughter, that has taught me a lot about my own personality and how I approach things, because I'll hear my 6-year-old take a certain approach to losing as like an adult. Like she went to sports day, for example, and she was in a relay. She was training for this for a little while, like she's running up and down. Because she's still competitive, but you know, it's a little bit different from when I was, doing track and them kind of thing then. And I remember she was in the relay and she was the second person in the relay. They hand over the baton to her and she was running and did great on her leg, hand it over to somebody else, and that little girl, for whatever reason, broke down crying in the middle of her leg and didn't do well. I don't even think she even really finished her leg. And I was away at work, came home and spoke to her at the end of the day, and she was saying to me, I did well, but you know, this person broke down crying. I can't really do it. I did well, but this person broke down crying, and we came third in the race because of it. And I said, how does that make you feel? And she says, well, to be honest, Daddy, I'm still happy. We came third, and even though she broke down crying, we supported her, understood why. So we'll try again next year. And that was crazy to me because at this age, yes, you can understand that. Yeah, she have that certain level of understanding and maturity, and I said, okay, clearly I'm doing something right. Mm-hmm. Clearly at that point in time, you want to anticipate a scenario where she's crying, she did well, she don't understand why the other variables came into place to say, oh, this is what happened, and those kind of things let me know that you're going in the right direction. Because a big part of understanding. Yes, exactly right. Mm-hmm. And a big part of understanding that about life is, and I think Jeremy Spencer said this on an episode I had him on about fatherhood as well, is that life is not fair sometimes. Life will deal you a bad hand, even though you've done everything right that you had the control of, but then how you deal with it, how you respond to it, determines what success looks like at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So those are the kind of things that I definitely treasure.
I say this, kids also, I mean, I spoke about like external influences in business, but sometimes, especially as business people, we take it for granted the impact that the kids have on us at home. Because you have these, in my case I have one, these set of eyes inside the home that's watching you move.
And you have to do everything.
You have to do everything. So I mean, how you would even handle something knowing that there's a little,
even the discipline side of it.
Yeah,
so I mean that it.
Don't ever not discipline.
No.
Don't think
no
don't think that all we're talking about is all pushy.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But it helps. Mm-hmm. You're being watched, you're being judged constantly, 24/7. Are you a disciplined person? You go into your bed. So if you're not a disciplined person, in how you're gonna tell him to go to bed when it's bedtime?
True. Right, exactly.
So
set the right example. From the racing perspective now. All right, I'm gonna ask very honest questions when it comes to this. Has there ever been a time where things weren't going good personally or professionally, and you felt like it affected how you handle business or how you handle racing?
So I kind of stepped on it when we didn't start filming yet, but the day that I become an also-ran in racing, and the day that I don't think that I'm going to be able to win, will be the day that I quit motorsports. And it's one of those things that is just embedded in me, and it's one of those things that I've kind of embedded in my entire family and the way that they treat life in general. And I also feel that is very, very important, that you have to treat life that way. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to bounce back from your disappointments, and you actually have to go and do better. So it's funny that you ask that kind of question, and you literally take those bad things and you make good of it.
Yeah, cool.
And that's very, very important within life, right? So yeah, I'm definitely the optimist. I've always been. If you ask my wife, if you ask any of my kids, that is always one that's going to say, you know what, better is going to come. Yeah. And that is through business, through motorsports, through life, through everything. And I'm always looking at the greener pastures over that fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, I know you must have your own version of when things are not going well, but I know you do events on top of it because I know I'm big the slippery when so when things are not going when things are not going well, tell me how it is that, has there ever been a time when things are not going well and you thought about giving up, that you decided to persevere and push through?
You know, when things not going well, you know, I just take it day at a time, honestly. It never reach a point where I feel like I'll quit.
Where you give up? Because is it because the dream was too big? You never grow that way. All right, cool.
Maybe I don't know if it's the army mentality. I don't give up.
Yeah, well, when were you in the army?
From 93 to 2000.
So what is your most memorable experience from being in the army? I don't hear a lot of army people.
Killing fire, man.
The discipline.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline. I believe in it. I stick by it. People can't manage me with it, but
You have the discipline.
discipline still in me.
Okay, good.
Why? Nowadays,
You still make up your bed in the morning and all that.
no.
You woke up one day and realize, I don't have to do
No,
this.
no.
You woke up one day and realize, I don't have to do this. Nobody's watching me. I can just walk out to the room right now. Mario, tell us. I mean, I know that I know a small part of your journey, but has there been any day, any time, even for that 5 minutes where you're like, maybe this isn't it?
Of course. I mean, especially coming from a banking position where the bank would have put you up. You know, I never had to pay rent because the position came with accommodation. So now having to decide between rent or JPS or NWC is tough. When you have $50,000 and the light is 40 and the water is 20.
I want to go water that man.
No, but it's a business. So
yeah,
I mean, you just have to, a part of business, part of being an entrepreneur is knowing that it is a day, it's a bad day, it's not a bad life, and tomorrow must be better than today.
Yes.
That's basically it. So if small disappointments, I mean,
Shake your little butt. Let's move on.
And it's always good to not have all your eggs in one basket. You talk about your service side, you talk about your part side. You know, you have several things going
at once.
I'm sure within your company, you're making, as you talked about, you're making the loans and you're making the different people and all different genres.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're sticking with one group of people. And you can't do that.
No.
And even with my company, I mean, I'm doing several things within my company to make sure that there's always some sort of cash flow always going on.
Because some things will be seasonal, some things are better now.
And you buck your toe with one and then, well, guess what? Something else will bounce back.
That
Especially
diversity.
After a pandemic, the pandemic, I don't even think people understand just how rough it was during the pandemic. I mean, a lot of stuff. Man, we had to go back to the drawing board with literally everything. Imagine a business like mine where
nobody wanted to pay their loans.
If not even nobody wanted to pay. 500 people became unemployed.
Right.
I mean, we were in the hospitality sector in a huge way. So you can imagine one day 500 people just not working. So now imagine a situation where you need the money.
Right.
You're calling, it don't even make sense you call them because they're not working. There's nothing
There's no income to pay you, much less to deal with everything else.
So how do you handle something like that? You really just a day by day. Day by day.
Did people come in here and get a haircut and say, I'll pay you later?
Yo, you know what's funny? And I was just about to say it about this business. I started this business in 2018. And in starting this business, it was purely just to fill a need of a gap that I saw needed to be filled. And I said, you know, I'm going to provide a better level of service in a more convenient space with parking and all those things. So none of this big reason behind starting this business has nothing to do with how it did in the pandemic, because naturally on March, was that 15th, when the first case came and everything started out, I was nervous like everybody else. But then I found out that this business is clearly an essential service, because even if there's a pandemic and there's a life-threatening disease out there, man have to trim them here, man have to shave, man have to look good at some point in time for something. Even if you're going to be sitting at home with your wife for the next 2 weeks, you have to feel like you need to feed, apparently. And I'm grateful for that. I really have to give thanks about that. But then that shows you that it identifies to you, like you said, that you need to diversify. My other businesses went down and they took a hit in a very, very real way. But this business, if anything, grew during that point in time. And we decided to start this show during that point in time. It afforded me, the more time that I had, that because of the other businesses going down, afforded me to grow and scale this business. So there is no there is no complete bad in adversity, is what I learned during this time.
Then everybody was at home ordering everything from Amazon.com. Amazing. Everybody sat there with nothing to do and they just hit that enter button. And everybody had the 100 things on their card and went, boy, and it was just amazing. And then all of a sudden you also saw that money was here in Jamaica.
Yep.
People were buying the Benz, the BMW, the Audis. Like,
the BMW.
Wow. I mean, these fancy cars just came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, honestly,
and you're sitting there going, whatever happened to the Mark X? No, the Mark X man now all of a sudden wanted the best BMW Audi. And you realize, boy, some serious money was still
some
at
money is
play.
out there. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man.
So there was a lot of hidden money that was just sitting there.
Savings.
Oh, is that what you call it? Oh,
I don't like that.
Yeah. Of course, they're gonna be the financial man put it together. But what I said to somebody very recently about it was, that is what let me know that I find it hard when people say, this is a third world country. I always kind of go because, to be honest with you, I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money during this pandemic. I've seen a lot of people make a lot of investments in this pandemic, and it's still, as much as it was a global problem and the overall Jamaican view is that, it is a very rough time, and it was a rough time mentally and for a lot of people especially, but some people took some wins out of it.
Yeah.
And it speaks to that overall perseverance of being a Jamaican in and of itself, because like you said, a lot of people in the hotel sector, they started other things and other people that didn't go back to the hotel sector after, because it forced them to bring out that drive or that ambition that they were thinking in the back of their head, maybe I should play it safe. But when your back is against the wall and you need food every day.
Yep.
Is there anything that you want to leave with the people out there that I didn't get a chance to ask?
Just make sure you have my back, that's all.
What was that?
Make sure they have him back.
No, I don't mind at all. Thank you. Mario, is there anything you want to leave with people out there? Any gems, anything like that?
Because I hold for things that touch topic on. So
Yeah.
we have to do that again. Where is it? Yeah, we have to do that again.
No, mental health and entrepreneurship, I think, is the general topic. I will say that entrepreneurship is a mental illness, as I mentioned, but it builds character. It just.
You mean all of us do have a screw loose somewhere?
Yeah, we all have a screw loose. You have.
Possibly, though.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, to use your own funds, your own resources that you could have done, you could have spent on some luxury item, to decide that you're going to put roots in the ground so that you can be self-sufficient is very difficult. So if you think that it's for you, get started. But
As long as it's not in the dollar business.
yeah, don't do loans. Don't do loans. No, but that's it. Discipline.
To open up a BMW parts.
No.
No.
And don't
That's
race.
it.
Who tell us
We
we don't
need
want
any
a
more
competition?
shipping
Yes.
companies.
Can't manage it.
Sometimes competition helps us to grow in people. Come on, no?
No, discipline will get you.
Far. Discipline. Discipline is the main thing. You have to have discipline. You can't just start a business and discipline is not behind it. I tell you, it's not
But
very
then
easy.
you also need to come back to what you just said. And you said, all right, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Yes. But okay, so you had this 10,000 US dollars that you're sitting on, and you said to yourself, all right, I'm going to go and spend it on a nice car or whatever. And then you said, okay, hold on a second. Suppose I took that $10,000 and put it towards a business.
All right.
That $10,000 might become 30.
Right.
So guess what? In the end, you could still have that nice car, and then you could also have other things just going on.
If you use it
if you thought of it that way, then of course, then it's always good for you.
I did have one more question to ask, as I forgot about. So a big part of what people tend to overlook about the entrepreneurship thing is that no man is an island. There has to be a good support system. There has to be somebody that is holding all of this together. Tell me a little bit about your support system.
My wife and my kids, my whole entire family have been my support system from as long as I can know. Especially my parents growing up, as I was talking about earlier. you're saying to yourself, all right, do I stick with this Fortune 500 company or do I go on my own? And I got the push from them. Everybody was very supportive to say, no, start your own business, especially even in motorsports when things were down. And I said, boy, all right, do I give this up? I had friends, and I can tell you categorically that there's a few friends of mine out there that saw me maybe in a particular car, knew that I could be much better than I was, and literally came to me and said, Doug, here is an evolution, pay me over time. I got that throughout my career. Take yourself out of that little Opel Corsa that we always saw breaking down. Put yourself into a Mitsubishi Colt. But I can't afford the Mitsubishi Colt. How much can you give me? All right, so I can give you 5,000, the car was worth 10. All right, pay me the extra 5 over time. I said, but suppose I write it off next week. I said, but Doug, we see you and we understand you and we know that even though you might write it off in the first event, I know you're still good for it, which was very good for me to know that I had that instinct.
Right.
And it has happened many, many, many times throughout my career. I have built so many cars that I've raced off of just the initial money and then having now the support now to keep that car going and also to keep it getting better and better. So again, it's the, as they talk about, it's the support from everybody around.
Soon, thank you. Scott, tell me about your support system that allows you to do what you do now.
My support is my son. Everything about him, and he's been there for me. Not that I'm not a family person. My son is everything. My son is everything. He grows with me and everything.
Cool. All right.
A support system, my story is a little bit different in that my mom would have seen me going to work with my tie, shirt tucked in, to know traveling all the way to Lucy. So she was like, hey, no, go look a job, I'll call my friend to see if they can get you into this bank or that bank. I'm like, mommy, no, I want to, But my dad was really like, no, you say you can do it, so do it, and then with your daddy in the back of your mind saying that you can do it. So even if I doubted myself, the person who knows you probably better than you knew yourself, says go, I had no fear. Support system also is so crucial. You can't do anything by yourself. No. I mean, I remember I wanted to do something, just to tell you a little bit about my private life, and I had to sell our car, my girlfriend and I at the time, our car, and she was like, all right, she trusts that I'll make the right decision, and it worked. Where somebody else would have maybe been like, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna show off from people now. If we don't have our car, how we going to look if we're in a taxi? So I mean, the support system is it's your lifeline.
Yeah, man. I've said it many times, and anytime somebody asks me, how do you do this many things, that's always my answer. To be honest, like I said, when people have that belief in you, sometimes more than you have belief in yourself, it propels you forward in a way that I can't even explain.
And it's how you carry yourself too.
Yeah,
you have to
because
that.
they see you as big and strong and smart and getting everything done, but sometimes it's the one little word of confidence that just kind of just plant a seed, and it's the difference between you saying, yo, I'm going all in on this, or maybe I should look at something else, or maybe I should play it safe. No, man, these people believe in me, I'm gonna make it work now, type of thing. So, big up to that.
Yes.
Good. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
All right.
Lovely.
So, Doug, I'm going to get the sponsorship.